Hey guys, and welcome back to the worst career path I could have possibly chosen. Today we're talking about the Hawk Tuah girl. Now, if you don't know who she is, or if you don't know her podcast, Talk Tuah, then please look it up. My life has not stooped low enough to explain this shit to you. But my feed on every single social media platform ever apparently has. And for the past month, I have been getting post after post about this fucking podcast. But it got me thinking, do I even know what this podcast is about? And the more I thought about it, the more I started wondering, does fucking anybody know what this podcast is about? And the only thing I can do to get this nugget out of my brain is actually watch the podcast and talk about it. Because God knows nobody else is going to. I mean, there are TikToks that have 30 million views, yet the views on the podcast itself go down to like 300,000, which is still really good. It's just a considerably small fraction of the absolute fucking hurricane that swept the internet. Joining me in this task is Remy Z, who is a creator that is best known for his short form videos. Say it.
Nah, man, I don't really. What's your WeChat?
Are expecting art?
I don't know.
I'm expecting to be blown away. Your life is gonna fucking change. Do you understand that?
Dude, I'm fully prepared to lose some brains. I mean, okay, sorry.
You're excited to be enlightened.
I'm very excited to be enlightened.
And then the next question: Are you excited to have your ass stuck to the leather seat for the next 7 hours?
7 hours?
My king, he got us pizza.
That's all it took.
We finished the first episode of Talk Tuah. And you know, maybe we're the wrong demographic, but throughout all of the episodes, almost all the time, they never introduced the qualifications of their guests, so we just didn't know who most of the people were. I watched every single episode of the podcast, and I still have no idea who the fuck this guy is.
That was definitely an area of concern for most of the episode. Actually, all of it, because they actually never really introduced anybody.
The best way that I can describe this episode is an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
They said some things that I'm gonna carry with me
did
for
you
the rest
know
of my life.
that if you get 18 shots of Botox in your armpit, you're gonna stop sweating there?
And it's gonna come out your vagina.
Seems to be one of the side effects.
Yeah. I mean, I found out that Haley has a non-profit for animals called Paws Across America. And that's really cool. There's a lot of room there to have a meaningful discussion. But very quickly, the conversation derailed to some random shit like decorating your vagina and shit on that thing. Yeah, I know. Riveting stuff. They made some fucking wild takes too. Like they gently implied that feminists who don't want to cook and clean are hungry, filthy bitches. And they also talked about how Haley doesn't like history and how there's no point in learning it anyway because none of it was true, which is a bit of an oversimplification, I think. There was literally a bit where Whitney asked Haley if she heard of 9/11, which I mean she did, but the fact that that question had to be asked at all is kind of insane. Anyways, let's get on to episode 2. I hate that I just said that, but once you write a line like that into the script, it fucking stays. I think that episode would have been good for people who were curious about like the Talk Tuah history. There's just not much to say about this episode, really. It honestly just felt like a bunch of high school girls in Nashville having a normal ass conversation, except the only noteworthy thing they can bring up is the Hawk Tuah meme. How my dad and brothers reacted to my fame. Chelsea's POV from the Hawk Tuah interview. But don't worry, that's not all that they talked about. They also talked about sucking off Papa Smurf, and halfway through her grandma showed up, which I guess was necessary.
She had some bangers though. Her grandma said, don't bring a boy home unless he got one foot in the grave and another on a banana peel.
The entire time throughout this episode, it just felt like a small town conversation. There wasn't really a lot of stuff that had a lot of substance in it. I didn't really learn anything other than the history of Haley's shirt tussie. I don't know. Don't ask. I don't. And almost every topic that they discussed was adjacent to the meme.
I think you'd be watching this out of your own free will. I'd put this on to like wash dishes or something. I feel like that's.
I mean, it's background noise because it's something that doesn't demand your full attention.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that Haley Welch is an evil force that must be stopped. I don't think she's going to bring treachery upon humanity. It's just that so far, I don't think this podcast had to exist. I mean, to be fair, there are a lot of podcasts that I don't think need to exist. I would much rather watch 4 random girls just go to Taco Bell than have some guy tell me it's okay for me to cheat because I have a cock on my body.
You know, journalism, I would consider this investigative journalism, really.
All right, episode 3.
Episode 3.
In this episode, we had Caitlin, who was on The Bachelorette, and I have to say that this is probably my favorite guest so far, because there were so many times that they were talking about love languages or paternal relationships, and we would get so close to having a meaningful conversation before the conversation would quickly derail into something like Haley and Chelsea learn about Kim Jong-un, a segment where Chelsea sees a meme of Kim Jong-un on the Talk to a podcast, believes that it is Bobby Lee before someone on the production team has to explain to her that that is in fact Kim Jong-un and that he is the leader of North Korea because they previously did not know. Anyways, this might be a good time to mention that we have been sitting down for 2.5 hours at this point.
This podcast is great. I'm sure it is great. It's just I'm finding this highly unenjoyable. I'm having trouble relating to the genital pubes situations. I think we're just losing focus too. It's not like necessarily
On this episode, Haley had a country artist on. They talked about country music.
I don't think we were the target demographic.
Yeah, they talked about country
I would have
music.
loved to get into it,
Yeah.
But then I just don't understand that much about country music. Like you're talking about the mothers of country music.
All right, let's get on to episode 5.
We're on the episode with JoJo C.
In this episode with JoJo Siwa, I heard too much.
Learned a lot about her sexual preferences.
I know what JoJo Siwa's biggest turn on is now. It feels like that information was given to me involuntarily.
She knows that she is a bottom, but then she's really good at being a top because she knows what she wants as a bottom.
Now, here's the thing about listening to JoJo Siwa talk about her sexual preferences for 54 minutes. I don't really know anything about her, but as far as I am aware, she's not really guilty of anything other than just being cringe. But when you sit through an hour of that, it really builds up.
What are your thoughts?
I don't know, man. I'm not even forming thoughts at this point.
So we don't have time to unpack all of that. Now I could talk about anything this episode. I could talk about how Haley Welch got the Civil War explained to her for 5 minutes straight. I could talk about how Hannah Berner encouraged masturbation manifestation. But no, I want to talk about the sponsors. Because for the sake of pacing, I haven't mentioned this yet, but every single episode of this podcast is sponsored and powered by Jake Paul's sports betting app. But not only that, this episode was also sponsored by Manscaped, Game Time, and SendTheVote.org, which to me is insane that essentially on Talk Tuah, they just said, hey, we hate to interrupt this conversation about queefing etiquette, but I just wanted to say, shave your pubes, gamble, watch sports, and don't forget to vote. So there were 4 sponsorships during the course of this 48-minute.
Miss Haley Welsh, get your bag, girl. I would do the same. Maybe not, but,
I'd also like to mention that at this point, we've been doing this for 5 hours. We've been at this for so long. It's officially like pitch black outside. What is this next episode about? Rihanna chicken fry on dating in public. Zach Bryan, Matt Rife is Pookie. What? On this episode, I think that we were just desensitized. No amount of kink talk or feet pics could faze us. And I mean, this is sort of my thing, right? I trap myself in rooms and put myself through this shit all the time. But Remy, on the other hand, I wouldn't be surprised if he put a hit on me after we finished recording.
it's like I just went through 8 rounds of back shots. The first 3 were pretty enjoyable. They're okay. 4th and 5th, it was getting a little sore. Man, the fucking 7th, it felt like about 10. But no, I'm kidding. If these back shots were lined up 7 days, or you wash one every day, that's kind of fun, right?
In this episode, Josh Richards explains to Haley who Plato and Socrates are. Josh tells her that they are philosophers, and she immediately follows that up by asking, what's a philosopher? And Josh is like, oh, they think about grand stuff. And then Haley says, I'm a philosopher. And then I thought to myself, who am I to say that she isn't? I took a moment to myself, and I'd noticed something. Talk Tuah drops once a week, much like how many people would go to religious gatherings once a week. Me and Remy had a breakthrough. We did the maths and came to the conclusion that Talk Tuah isn't just a podcast, it's a lifestyle. No, a religion. No, It was the truth. We immediately started practicing our hawk tuahs, making sure to put the emphasis on the tuah. And we started getting ready for the new day. A day that would change humanity as we know it. A day where... Okay, this bit is getting really fucking weird. Anyways, after finishing the entire podcast, all I can really say is that it's just one big nothing burger. You don't really learn anything from this podcast. And I mean, there's some weird shit that goes on, but nothing that's like evil. But also keep in mind that this entire thing is backed up by Jake Paul's sports betting app, which consume that information however you want to. But that's really all I had for you guys today. Get home safe and stay kind, everyone.